Okay, the museum usually covers between 1830 and 1930, and the reason for that is the height of the homesteading grants for this area. You'll notice that though most of our stuff starts around 1850, 1860 and goes up, even up into the 1970s, and that's because it's Ian's museum and it's Ian's family's items, so they're on display. This door here is from approximately 1895. It is the original door to the farmhouse that was on this property. It was the Sinclair farm at one point. And this door and the frame that's on that door over there are the only two items that were salvaged from the original house. The farmer who was the last of the Sinclairs that owned it got married later in life to a woman from Hamilton who knew nothing about farming. They got married, and 4 months after they got married, he died of a heart attack in the field.
Oh, wow.
So she was left with a farm with 90 head of cattle,
Wow.
Goats, pigs, chickens, and cows. Had no idea how to look after a farm. Over the time, she sold off the cows, but she took a lot of the smaller animals into the house with her. The dogs, the cats, the goats, the chickens, all of those things ended up in the house with her. And when they'd make a mess, instead of cleaning it up, she'd just cover it up with newspapers.
Oh my gosh.
One would die, she'd just cover it up with a newspaper. So after 10 years of doing this, all that was left of this place was pathways through piles of newspaper.
Oh my
And
gosh.
dead animals and animal crap. And so the house had to be burnt to the ground when Ian bought the property. The barn was in fairly rough shape as well because she had left the main doors open to the elements so the animals could come in and feed themselves. And so by that time, the floor in front of the door was completely rotted away. So 5 beams had to be replaced, and the floor joists and the floor as well. So the original floor to this barn up here is actually 1.5 feet lower down. It is actually the ceiling to the downstairs, but there's been a 1.5 feet subfloor put down on top, and that's been insulated to create an insulation for the home that is actually underneath here. So in here we have our living room section. The sofa and chair here are from 1920. We do not know who the original owners were of the sofa and chair. It had changed hands so often that they lost who were the original owners. It's very comfortable furniture. There is a couple of design flaws with it, but they're not really design flaws as for that era, but for design flaws for us now. The furniture is very low to the ground because they were shorter back then. And it's very deep, and it was angled on a very sharp angle this way. And the reason for that was they were designed for women who wore bustles, which made their bums really big. So they would have the room to be able to put their bustles down in the chair, and they'd be sitting on the edge of the chair. And there was room for their bustle, and then they would just do this to get up. So if you try to sit in a chair or the sofa the way you would normally do, which is way back here, it's comfortable, but you can't get up unless you slide forward and then lift yourself up. We do have a couple old gramophones here. This one here is from 1903, and this one here is from 1920. I love their idea of volume control. Shutters.
Oh.
That's how they controlled the volume. This one was working up until a few years ago, but because we are not climate controlled up here, the arm froze one time too many and it cracked, so we have to get it repaired. This one, on the other hand, does work, and I will get it going, hopefully. Here we go. And we'll get her up to speed, and we'll put this down, and you'll see what I mean by volume control. Okay, this doesn't sound very loud. Oh, It needs to be wound up. Sorry about that. There we go. Now she's up to speed. There we go. Okay. We'll try this again. What the heck is going on here? Okay. Well, it used to work.
It's too cold.
Yeah, I think that might be the
Yeah.
issue. Anyways,
Because everything's on springs.
yeah, well, actually, this is actually on a leather belt system.
Yeah, but it has to have a pendulum that comes
yeah.
up that drops everything down.
So the volume control on those are quite interesting. The mirror, again, is I think from 1910.
Wow.
This was in the Moore homestead. They had a very large farmhouse with a second floor, and there was only one light on the second floor, and it was in the center of the hallway. So this mirror was put in the hallway to reflect the light back and forth, so it was brighter. We do have a bit of a trapping section here, not much at the moment. We're still waiting for some more. This actually came from the, I'm sorry, I cannot remember the name of it. Anyways, it was a local trapper. He died on the trap line around 1940. He went out to trap, and no one thought anything of it because normally he would go out and be gone for 2 to 3 weeks at a time. And after the 3-week period and he hadn't come home, they went out looking for him, and he had a heart attack on the trap line and froze to death. So the traps up here are traps that he used. That is his trapping basket. So what he'd do is when he got to an animal, he'd take it out of the trap and just throw it over his shoulder into the basket. Those are also his snowshoes that he used. We do actually have some taxidermy coming of some of the animals that would have been trapped. We have a marten, a mink, and a marten, mink, and fisher. That's the other one. So this is our school section here. The desk is from 1900. It's from the original Argyle continuation school with the teacher's chair. The chair did have wheels on it. We took them off because the first day that we were open, 2 little boys came in and decided they were going to play racing cars with the chair.
Oh my gosh.
So we took the wheels off after that so they couldn't do it anymore. We also have a child's desk here from 1920. This is a dual desk. Most of them up in this area would have been single desks, but they also would have had the seat attached to the front. So the desk portion and then the seat for this desk would be on the front of the next desk and so far down the road. So the very front of the classroom there would be a seat all the way along because there was no desk in front. We also have a typewriter here from 1908. Most teachers up here would not have had a typewriter. They just didn't have the money to get typewriters. This one was actually in the boarding house that was here on the Four Corners. And it was in the sitting room of the boarding house, along with the pump organ, which is downstairs.
10 minutes left in the recording.
So we also have a lot of children's school books here. They range from 1890 to 1920. They were donated by the Moore family. We've had to put them behind glass because they are very fragile and they are falling apart. We do also have the chalkboards that would have been used by the teachers. This is a tablet that was used by children to learn their lessons. So as I said to the little kids nowadays, you have your tablets that has gigabytes of memory. This has no memory unless it was in your head. And then we also have the quill ink bowls here with the quills which are on the kids' desk. And quills are literally just a bird's feather that they would have sharpened and they would have used that for writing.
Yeah.
If you had money, then you would have had maybe a metal tip that would have been put onto the quill so the quill wouldn't get worn out.
Yeah.
So we have a table here that came from the Bain family's side of the table came from an aunt who had some money down south, and she had it made and brought up. What was interesting is the person who made it was an undertaker, cabinet maker, and what was the other one? Undertaker, upholsterer, and cabinet maker.
So
Wow.
you gotta have,
He was a multi-talented.
Triple threat.
Yeah.
He built your coffin and buried you. All of the embroidery that you see around the museum was actually done by Ian's great-grandmother. She was
Wow.
quite prolific and actually very good at it. So we have a lot of it.
yeah. very good.
Especially the lace work type work that she's done there. That's not easy to do, and she's done it beautifully.
Yep. Also, the whiteness of the.
Yeah,
labels of
yeah,
the-
exactly, and the fact that they're still this white all of these
Yeah.
years later. Yeah.
That's.
We have a model here of a,
steaming.
it's actually a alligator boat. It's a boat that was designed for the river systems up here. It actually has metal runners on both sides, so it could be portaged from one river system to the other. They would
Wow.
use horses and sometimes even men to portage it. And they
So-
would actually put the ropes around trees, and then when the horse would pull it, and then they would go to the next tree and do the same thing again.
So
Or,
do they have sleds that they put on it, or?
well,
do
no,
those
they'd actually
act
had,
as sleds?
those actually act as sleds. Those, it's
Okay.
the way the hulls were made, and they wrapped them in metal, so that was the sleds for across the ground.
So the water wheels themselves, they only were at the water line? They
Yes.
never would touch ground?
That's right, that's right.
Okay, cool.
So because your water line is up higher than your ground line is,
Yeah,
so they would
exactly.
never hit the ground when they were actually being pulled across the
That's
ground.
brilliant.
And that's why they always cleared wide pathways for
You
the.
could run aground, no issue.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So the veil here is actually from Ian's great aunt. She wore that when she got married in 1924. Originally, we thought it was Ian's grandmother's because it was in her trunk with her items. But we got a picture of Ian's grandmother on her wedding day, and she's wearing a great big hat. He hasn't got a veil on. And a few weeks later, we actually got a picture of his great aunt, and she was wearing that veil.
What is that made out of? That's
It-
all lace?
It's all lace.
Wow.
So what's the
Handmade
lace at the
lace.
time made out of?
It would have been made out of cotton.
Okay.
Cotton or silk, depending on how expensive they were going. This one was made out of cotton.
Oh, wow, because the thing is that that's just a singular sheet that is then fringed, and then fringed with a perfect.
Yeah, well, all of this would have been hand woven, and then it
Wow.
would have been embroidered with the lace trim around it. So,
Oh my God, that's the first time I've seen this.
what, Ian's mom's wedding dress?
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, new wedding dresses don't have shit on that.
Yeah, that was from 1954. She
Oh, wow.
had a 19-inch waist.
Wow.
Yeah, you can tell.
Yeah, she was tiny. She was a tiny little thing.
She was
so-
kind of tall though.
For her era, yes,
Yeah.
she was. She was 5'4".
Yeah.
So, and for a woman back then, that was actually quite tall.
Yeah,
So we also have a square grand piano here.
that's incredible.
It is, very few of them have survived, but
Ah,
also
almost
because they were not made for very long, because their soundboard was made to fit the square format. And because of that, they could not be tuned to concert standards.
No.
So they went out of favor quite quickly. So
Yeah.
they were actually only made for 10 years.
They were almost more of a novelty that you could
Well, they-
kind of show off. It was a,
Yeah, well, they were made for rich people to show off their wealth, but they didn't have the size of home to put a grand piano in,
Bingo.
so they did the squares.
Yep.
So here we
Holy
have,
fries, Cocos, is that old?
yeah, that's from about 1920. The store cabinets here came from one of the local stores here in town.
So that's where they would keep bulk items.
Yes, yeah,
So grains.
grains and
oatmeal.
flours and that type of thing, sugars, rices, would have been in the drawers.
Would there be anything lining the drawers, or would it just be raw?
For a lot of them would have, the larger ones would have actually had metal linings for the flowers and things like that.
I was thinking burlap sacks, but I guess never.
No, they would have actually done it in metal.
Okay.
The ones for things like grains or rices, they actually probably would have used burlap.
Okay, cool.
Or in a lot of times, once they got to the point where they were getting paper in on a regular basis, they would actually line it with paper.
Okay, because my thought is that like all the mites or like really anything would just start burrowing into the wood and waiting until you got to restock.
So they would actually, and the thing is, it was usually sold quick enough that you never really had to worry about the weevils and the mites and that kind of thing. Again, this is a cheese display from a local store. We just got this last year just before we closed. I made the wheels of cheese out of foam.
Amazing.
Oh, and the cheese.
And the cheese and the scale here, yes, that's also from one of the local stores. We also have some.
Oh, we've always had funny money. We've never not had funny money.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
That's our old currency.
Canada.
We have a couple cash registers here. This is a mechanical cash register, and this is from 1920. This one actually was not used in the store that often because most of the people who lived up here actually had an account, which is where this cash register came in.
It's an account machine?
Well, it's called a credit register. And what would happen is every person who had a credit with them would have a name here with a number or a letter. And so Mrs. Smith would come in and she'd say, oh, Mrs. Smith, you're number 12. And they'd pull her bill out and say, oh, you owe us $5.45 for this month. She would pay, and then the receipt and the cash would go down in here.
Wow.
And this was used right up until the store closed in 1940, because almost everybody up here had an account.
Yeah.
The only people that were you brung in on the cash register were people who were out-of-towners who were coming in for holidaying.
Because the thing is that you'd rack up so much at the general store, whatever store it was, that like you needed to pay in installments or, oh, don't worry, I'm getting this shipment in.
Yeah, and they were doing that on a monthly basis. They'd come in and pay their bill. Over here, we do have an ice box from the 1900s. This was actually in Aunt Mary's house as well.
So would you put the ice in here?
The ice goes up here.
And then that would be retained
this
through
would
the metal
hold,
box?
Yeah, this has actually got this would be a double blocker. And they were always lined in zinc.
Oh, because they come in blocks, they don't come in crush.
Yeah, they come in blocks. And they were always lined in zinc, and for two reasons. One, zinc very seldom rusted. And number two, it was a great conductor of cold.
Yes.
So the cold would actually go down into the cold box, which is where everything was stored down here. This actually would have been mounted onto the door would have been mounted on with magnets.
Oh.
So it would be easy to pull off and put it back on.
That makes sense.
So everything we have on display in the store section would have been available in a general store from 18-something right up until even the mid-20s.
So
Toboggans and
ice
most of the
pinch.
toys, those were actually ice tongs, yes.
Yeah,
Those were
ice pinch tongs.
Yeah. So
What are these?
those are golf clubs.
Oh my goodness!
Oh, wow.
Really golf clubs. Yeah, they're a bamboo shaft with either metal or wooden heads.
And they're straight
And
as
they're
a
fairly,
freaking
they're
arrow.
always true. Bamboo, if you get a straight bamboo, it's always going to be true. It never warps.
Wow.
Because the way it dries is the way it stays. It never changes its shape. So if it's straight when it's dry, it's
Vintage bowling pins.
vintage bowling pins. Those are actually from the 40s, so they're not from earlier.
Yeah, that is.
This
vintage
is
enough.
actually the original bowling pins. They're
I
actually
thought
called.
those
wow.
were juggling pins.
That's what a kid said. He goes, "That's not a bowling pin. That's a juggling pin." And I
That's
said,
what they-
technically, he's right. They are actually called skittle pins,
Yeah.
which was again 10 pins with either a wooden or a rock ball.
Yeah. Almost like
but
long
they
bowls.
did actually realize quite quickly back then that they were the right shape and right weight
To
for
flip.
juggling.
Yeah.
So they became juggling pins. The snowshoes are actually vintage. They're, or actually antiques. They're actually Ian's great-grandmother's.
Yeah.
They were actually worn by Ian's mom and by Ian
Wow.
over the
What
years.
are these?
That is actually a hockey game.
Oh, wow.
This is actually Ian's mother and uncle's hockey game from when they were kids.
Wow.
Is that? Oh, it's all wood. I
Yeah,
thought
it's
it was
all wood.
plastic
It's
for
all,
a
no,
moment.
it's all wood, hand-painted wood. It still works beautifully. Everything about it works
Wow.
still.
Wow.
So the
Wow.
only thing is that the mice have eaten one of the nets off.
Ah,
The other side actually still has its net,
wow.
but it's been damaged by being stored.
Yeah.
The crossbow here was made by a local maker, and a lot of the
That still
toys.
has an edge.
Yeah, a lot of the toys would have been made by the local store owner because they couldn't
Wow.
afford to bring toys in. Metal toys would have been available back then, but they would not have been as elaborate as that, and they would have been much smaller.
It's just stamped metal.
Yeah, so these are actually from the 40s and 50s. The tricycles would not have been available to kids until the 1930s, although adults would have been on tricycles earlier than that, because up here, because of the size of the wheels,
It's
they
actually
actually
more
could have
useful.
actually been riding tricycles up here. So
Yeah.
that's a, if you didn't own a horse, that's probably how you got around up here. Because the combustion engine wasn't big up here until the 40s.
Yeah. well,
So
the
they
thing is
were
that shipping
horseback or bicycles or something along that lines is how you got around.
Ford didn't get a plant into Toronto until like the 30s or
Yeah.
40s. So like
Yeah,
it
and
would've
they
had to
actually
be-
didn't have electricity up here
Wow.
until the 50s.
Exactly.
It was the late 50s when they actually had hydro up here.
Wow.
And Ian's father was the first electrician up here, and he started wiring homes in 1960.
Wow.
So. we're gonna-
Rug beater, also known as a kid beater.
Yeah, this is a very crude one, which is literally just a stick that's been sanded down to make it smooth.
Yeah.
This is a little bit more
Elaborate.
If the really elaborate ones would have actually had a cane top on it
So
for
you could get more
beating them.
surface area.
Yeah, more surface area. This is a 1900s washing machine. You'd put the water in, you'd scrub your clothes, you'd close it up, and then you would flick the little lock here. And you would do this for about 20 minutes, or have one of your kids or 3 of your kids do this for 20 minutes.
Then you'd swing this
And then
up after.
then you'd swing this back down, and you'd put your clothes through there,
Ah.
bring the water out, and then put it over the line.
Wow. Oh,
And
you
here-
can adjust the heights.
Yes.
Wow.
Depending on how thick the clothing was that was going through it. And here we have one of the first electric washing
Whoa.
machines from 1914.
It still has the original motor.
Yeah, and it actually works.
Holy
The only thing
jumping
is, we
Jupiter.
have to get a new belt for it
Yeah.
and a new pin for it so
I mean,
that
you
it'll
also
actually
might
work.
want to check that the brushed motor electrodes are
It's-
actually.
No, it still works.
Oh,
We've actually had it,
goodness.
we've actually had it checked, and we actually have run the motor.
Wow.
Here's the old iron.
Yeah, the old cast iron irons. I actually used those on the very first job I had in a fashion industry.
Wow.
I had to use those to iron samples. They use those because of the weight of them and also the fact that they hold the heat more evenly than electric irons. So they had to use these to iron the samples.
Now, is this the electric iron?
That is a very early electric iron.
So
That's
that
from
would be the-
1920s.
Plug there.
Yeah, the plug goes in here, plug goes in this end here, and right here. The thing is, with these ones here, there was no way of controlling the temperature.
Oh,
so
it was
the
just
only
full
way-
on.
Yeah, it was full on, so the only way you could control the temperature literally was unplugging it.
Wow.
Also, there was a design flaw. The metal runs from here, which it gets hot, up through the wooden handle.
Oh.
So the wooden handle would get hot. So you could only use it for a certain length of time.
Yeah.
We also have a very early
Steam pot.
gas
Wow.
or oil powered. Basically, it's an oil lantern with an iron base
Oh,
on it.
sweet
Wow.
Jesus.
So, yeah, they were not the safest things because you would pump them up, you would light it, and then you would iron
And
your
if
clothes.
you have a leak, you've now
Yeah,
just
if you
screwed
had a
your
leak
entire
or you
day
did
of
it,
washing.
or you got angry and did a jerk, you could end up putting your house on fire. So yeah, not the safest things in the world. So we have an early pump here. Most of the pumps up here would have been like this one for outside, which is actually a wooden pump. Because the
How does a wooden pump work?
the wooden pumps actually had a wooden donut that would have been wrapped with leather, which would create the suction.
Okay.
The leather would have to be replaced twice a year.
Yeah.
The reason they would go with a wooden pump, because in the wintertime, the metal ones would freeze.
Yep.
Very seldom did you have to pour hot water down a wooden pump, which if you look, the metal ones, you would have to almost every day.
Washboards?
Yeah, the old washboards, like I said, if you didn't have one of the more newfangled washing machines, you'd have a tub with a washboard. And if you weren't lucky, then you would actually end up having to do a creek in a rock. We have a cream separator here, which would, you would pour your milk from your big can into here. You would turn the handle and it would separate the milk from the cream. Cream would come out this nozzle, the milk would come out here.
Wow, that's
It would
incredible.
take 3 cans of milk to make 1 can of cream.
Wow.
Yes.
And then it would take 1 can of cream to make 1 pound
Pound
of
of
butter.
butter, yeah.
So then you would churn the butter in the butter churn here.
It's diminishing losses by a factor of anywhere from
Yeah.
like, what,
So-
4 to 10?
Yeah, so up here, they would not usually use the butter for their own use unless that was for company or for special occasions.
Would you
Because
sell
it was
it?
just too expensive, yeah. They would
You'd
be
sell it to
selling
the bakery?
Yeah, they'd sell it to the baker or to people who had money to buy it.
Who would that be though? Like, because the thing is
Up
that almost
here-
everybody's.
Up here, it would have been sold to the stores.
Okay, yeah.
So then once you churned your butter, you would put the butter in here to do the final smoothing and add your salt.
Okay.
And then once you've got it all mixed, then you would put it into
And
your...
everything would have been salted.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you would put it into your molds like this. This is a mold that would have been done for very fancy situations. And then you would put the butter in here, then you would dip this mold into warm water very quickly and dump it out, and then you would have the nice design on your butter.
Wow.
Do you guys also have the water storage for butter? You know how you would you'd scoop all your butter into one thing and then you'd flip it onto water and the water would create a
Yeah.
tight seal?
We don't have one of those now.
But they did use them at the time.
They did, yes.
Okay, yeah.
And this is also a more primitive press.
Butter
for butter.
stamp
So, no, this was actually what you would do, put your butter into here
for blocks.
and to create the actual blocks of butter.
Yeah. What about these sled runners up top?
These are actually for the logging sleds.
Oh,
That is
okay.
actually a mold for a logging sleigh. And that, they would put that on the log that they were going to carve into the runner and mark it and then cut it out.
And that would be out of what? Pine, oak, birch?
Usually oak,
Poplar?
or maple.
Okay, so all hardwood.
The hardwoods. They would
Yeah.
never use a softwood for runners because it would break too easily.
Gotcha.
So we also have some of the early logging implements here. We have the bow saw. We have the hewing axe. So basically, the hewing axe is used like they would stand on a log and they would just do this on either side of them and walk down the log.
And that's to narrow the
That
log
would,
as
that
well
would
as...
be to shape the log like they did here where they've got 4 sides.
Yeah.
So they'd go down the 2 sides, get to the other end, they'd flip it over and walk back the other way. A good hewer could do 30 logs in 1 hour.
And a hewing adze is to do the top.
Actually, no, it would be used to, for someone who is, yeah, if you're just doing it this way,
Yeah.
they would do it this way. They would actually stand on the side of the log and
And
do it
then-
between their legs and
Yeah.
walk down.
And you don't want to skip a step.
Yeah. And then there's also the cant hook, which is actually used for rolling the
Rolling
logs.
logs. So you can roll things that are tons with
Yeah.
just 2 hooks and
Yeah.
2 people.
And then we have the eveners and the wimples. The horse evener is actually put behind the
The horse.
2 horses. And it was there so that if one horse started to lag, it would get hit back in the back of the legs, and then it would catch up to the other horse.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't have them, because if they end up becoming too uneven, they could flip the wagon.
Yeah.
And then the wimples trees are actually what the horses were attached to, that were attached to the tongue of the wagons.
Shorter and shorter, closer to the wagon. because
Exactly.
Higher and higher forces.
Yeah. We also have a.
Whoa, a rip saw.
That is one of the original saw blades from the logging, the sawmill here in town. They're actually still using the original saws that was water powered originally, or even horse powered.
Yeah, that would have been a wheel.
So this is actually the small blade.
Yes.
This is the small one. The medium is about that big, and the large is about that big.
And that's to do like full oak.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Century
So-
trees.
We got this one because it was the only one that we could actually lift and carry.
Yeah.
Originally, when Ian
It
brought it,
still looks like it's sharp too.
oh, it is very sharp. It is very sharp. So when we first got it home, though, Ian wanted to mount it up there.
Oh,
good
scary.
Lord, man.
And I looked at him and I said, okay, number one,
How are we
we
gonna
could barely get it in here, so how are we gonna get it up there? And I said, also, that is a 150-year-old barnwood. Do you think it's really gonna hold the weight of a saw blade? He goes, okay, we'll leave it on the floor.
And this is a crosscut
That's a
saw?
crosscut saw, yes, with its handles.
Yeah, which
This is the only one we've actually found, or that, this was actually donated to us, that still has its wooden handles.
It's because
Most
the
of the
wooden
time,
handles get so
yeah.
broken.
Well, they get broken or they literally brought away.
Yeah.
So we've got 3 or 4 of the cross-cut blades with no handles, but this one was donated to us last year.
Old buckets, new
Yes,
buckets.
these are the, this is a maple syrup kettle. Maple syrup kettles were only used for maple syrup. They never put anything else in them. And the reason for that is if you put anything else in it, it would taint the metal.
Yep.
So you would end up with odd flavors in your maple syrup. So they were only ever used for maple
And
syrup.
the reason for that is cast iron is porous.
That's right. So we also have hay knives. Hay knives were used because in these barns there would have been loss. And the hay would have been loose hay that was thrown up there. And over time, that hay gets very heavily compacted, and you really can't lift it out with a fork. So they would cut it into square bales, basically, that you could pick up and throw.
Yep.
Originally, I thought they were ice saws that had lost their teeth, but then I was corrected about that. And all hay knives from this era would have been from either England, Scotland, or Ireland, because the blacksmiths of the era up here would
Yeah.
not have had the skills to be able to make this. They would have been making horseshoes, nails, that type of thing, things that were very rudimentary, that didn't need a lot of skill, where this needed a lot more skill than the blacksmiths here
It
would
also
have had.
wasn't just skill. Some of them may have had the skill. They didn't have the anvils because they had very, very, very small anvils
That's
to start
true.
because they didn't have
That's
much
true.
iron.
That's
And
true.
you couldn't import a 200 to 300 pound anvil from Britain. Like,
Yeah.
it was gonna be your entire year's wages, and what's
Yes.
the point of that?
Yeah. So we do have some ice tongs here as well,
Yeah.
and we have ice hooks.
Nice.
We have the original pulleys back then, which were either metal or wood. Most of the really early ones are going to be mostly wood with a little bit of metal holding them. Sometimes you'll even see some pulleys where this portion here will be stone.
Oh,
It'll be
wow.
carved stone with the
That's impressive.
wooden wheel.
Sheep shears.
We have the sheep shearers here. I still have not figured out how you work with these ones.
I can actually tell you.
Well, I know how they work.
Yeah.
But I don't see how, unless you had another person
You
with
had
you.
another person holding the sheep
Because
down.
you cannot hold a sheep down and do this with 2 hands. So
The other thing
these
too-
ones you can hold a sheep down and do with 1 hand, but
You can get their head between your legs.
That's true, too.
And then you can go from, but the thing is that you're supposed to go from shoulder
yeah,
to hip, not
that's
from
right,
hip to
yeah.
shoulder.
So then we also have your carders here. These carders would have been the beginning ones just to start getting the dirt
Pulling out
and
the
pulling
wool.
the knots out. And these are the finishing carders because they're very, very fine.
Yeah.
And then we also have the paddle there, which would have been used to clean the wool out from between the teeth of the carders.
This was the workbench.
This is a workbench from Ian's great uncle. He was a wallpaper hanger in the early 1900s up to 1930. He was a wallpaper and painter down in Toronto, actually.
Goodness.
Yeah, those are hand-forged nails that Ian took out of the original manse from up here. He saved quite a few of them.
Notice how they're rectangular shaped
Yep.
with a final thing, because you just flatten down a rod,
Yep.
sharpen it out, and drive it in.
And we also have a dynamite crate here from 1938. This crate would have held dynamite that would have been used to actually create Highway 522.
Wow.
That
The amount
is-
of glycerin accidents that would have happened
Yeah.
with that one, woof.
And this is a cutter that is from 1900s. This cutter was used right up until the 1980s.
Yeah.
This was being restored in the early 1980s when the owner of it passed away, Mr. Moore. He was in the process of refurbishing it. That's why there's some new wood on it. So he passed away before he got finished doing it. So my plan is to finish off what he started and dye the wood down to match the original and replace the caning that's missing.
Are you going to replace the metal runners?
No, no, I just want to get the body of it looking
Okay,
a
the
lot
chest,
nicer looking.
yeah.
But I'm also not going to paint it back to its original colors, which would have been black, red, and gold.
Oh, wow.
So,
With the red felt as well? Like that was
well,
the...
that actually had a leather on it originally.
Okay.
I redid that because that was in such bad condition and it stunk so badly.
Oh, yeah. It would have been rotting away.
So we had to recover it if we were going to use it as a picture stand, that people can sit there and have their picture taken.
What is this?
That is a weed sheather.
Oh, it is
And
a
actually,
sheather.
that one is not in very great condition. This is
It's pink though, which is
yeah,
surprising.
the paint is still visible on that one. This one here is in
Oh, yes.
pristine condition. The only thing is they are very, very noisy.
Yeah.
So they're very noisy. So after doing that for an hour, you'd be deaf and have a very sore shoulder. So when you're doing that, the wheat, the grain actually comes out here and all the shaft comes down to this drawer here.
When you take this.
Yeah, that is a strainer for the grain, but this would have been used in place of this. So if you didn't have one of these,
Yeah.
you would be using that.
And then you'd be beating your wheat first,
Yeah.
and then grabbing all the chaff, and then sifting.
And this here
Wait, so
is
this has an automatic sifter, is what you're saying?
yes, it does.
Oh, it does? Yeah, it does have the shaking
Yep.
table.
Yes, it does. That's why it makes so much noise.
Oh, yeah, I thought it was just the
So
fluker.
this is actually a grain grinder
Oh,
for making flour.
wow.
So this would have actually been attached to a steam tractor,
Okay.
or possibly even a horse
The
wheel.
axle of a steam tractor, or does it have like
And no, it has a steam wheel, like you'll see here, the flywheel. All of the steam tractors had a flywheel. And that's what the belt would have been attached to on the flywheel of the tractor.
So other thought that I've had, did everybody die of heart attacks because there was too much salt and too much fat in their diets?
Actually, there wasn't a lot of fat or salt, actually.
Really?
They
So
didn't
what was
have
their major malfunction?
working to death.
Oh,
Literally.
literally, they just
Yeah.
pushed their hearts so
Yeah.
hard that they just couldn't.
Well, the thing is too, that's why their life expectancies were so short, because they literally overworked their bodies.
Wow.
So that's why their life expectancies were usually in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, and not 50s, 60s, and 70s like it is now. So,
Incredible.
so that's really kind of it for here. We do have more stuff downstairs, but it's not really set up right now for
Yeah.
doing any kind of a tour.
Set up for Christmas.
Thank you.
It's set up for
Thank you. This
Christmas,
is
yes.
amazing.